of basketball is evolving, and if you slack off, everyone is coming for your ass. This World Cup really just set the tone right for the Olympics, which I believe is going to be a blast. Nigeria remains on top of the mountain for the African teams. The team has gotten to a certain level where they can actually perform against the best in the world. Hello everybody, welcome to the very first episode of Flat Out, and I'm your host, Victor Komonibo. A lot of people don't even know that my name is Victor anymore. Everybody calls me Komo, but I'm fine with that. And this is Flat Out. And I'm kind of nervous. I think that's natural, but I don't know how many podcasts we have in Nigeria, or how many Nigerians do podcasts. And this is going to be one of a kind. Hopefully it grows beyond my greatest imagination. And that's the best I can hope for. Well, thank you for tuning in. The World Cup ended on the 15th of September, and we witnessed Spain lifting up the trophy as the best nation in the world for basketball. They really showed that. They showed they could play the game at the highest level, to compete against the best, and then come out on top. They had a solid team, a solid roster, and beyond that, they were a very disciplined team. From the blast of the whistle to the end of the game, they played with the same intensity, with a lot of IQ. They played together, and that ultimately led to them winning the tournament. Yes, there were a lot of other standouts, and my personal favorite were Australia. Oh Lord, Australia was remarkable. They had an incredible run throughout the tournament, with the likes of Joe Ingles, Patty Mills, Machi Dellavedova, Andrew Bogut. Those guys put on a show. They played wonderful. It was just unfortunate that they fell short in the semifinals against France, which was heartbreaking because one of my favorite guys in the tournament, Patty Mills, had the chance to seal the game at the end of the fourth quarter and missed a couple of free throws, which would have put them right into the finals. It was really heartbreaking, honestly. It was really heartbreaking. I think it was against Argentina. Yeah, it was against Argentina, not France. Yeah, Argentina. Oh man, I can still see him clanging those free throws. They played really well down to the point. Although Joe Ingles did not turn up in that game, which I think would have been the boost which they needed to get on top. Unfortunately, things happen. It's basketball. And we can't hold them by that because those guys played their hearts out for your country. From game one to the final game that they played against France in the third place game. They did great. Another standout for me was Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico didn't get really far in the tournament, but that team was incredible. They came out with a lot of fire, a lot of intensity. They played together. It was a collective effort from everyone on the team. My favorite game still in the tournament was their first game against Iran, where Iran led most parts of the game. I think till late in the third quarter, even till the fourth quarter, Iran was leading, and that game went down to the wire, ended at a buzzer by Mojica. I think that's his name. 4.1 seconds to go, and they scored a game-winning shot. I think it was a 2 or something. I can't really remember, but it was a wonderful game. Those guys showed that they can compete with the best at the highest level. France also did well. They stood out to me. Yeah, they had the veteran presence of Nicolas Batum, Nando Di Colo, All-Stars, Rudy Gobert. Ivan Fournier was incredible. Milikita did a great job, especially in the game against the United States in the quarterfinals. He was terrific defensively. He was everywhere for the ball and he made the right reads, which helped France come out on top. That game showed that there are a lot of flaws in the US system this year. I would say this year because I think, no disrespect to other things, the game of basketball is evolving, and if you slack off, everyone is coming for your ass. In fact, that's what it is right now. Words out there to the big guns in the league, big guns all around the world. Nobody is sleeping anymore. None of these small teams are sleeping anymore. You call them small teams, but they're taking major strides to get better every damn time. Right? The system, the players, their nutrition, they look into these things and help their players perform to the highest level. It showed in this tournament. Once you think you're going to be indomitable, you're probably going to fall short. And that showed a lot in some of the other teams, the other big guns that we expected were going to get to the finals, possibly the finals. The likes of Serbia. Oh my Lord, Serbia looked like they were going straight to in fact, they should have just picked them from the group stage and dumped them in the finals. They had an incredible team on paper. They had the Boban Marjanovic, the 7-foot guy, Bogdanovic, a couple of wonderful guys that have been around. Jokic was even coming up from the bench. This is arguably the best center in the NBA, and he was coming up from the bench for that team. That shows they had a lot of pieces to work with. And they looked really good till their first loss against the champion Spain. Spain outclassed them from the beginning to the end of that game. It showed that they could be rattled because towards the end, when they were down by 11 or so, they started taking up some stupid-ass shots. They were rushing the game. They didn't play the way we had seen them play earlier in the tournament. USA was also one of the disappointments in this tournament. But that was not for me. I clearly stated that the US were not going to do so well in this tournament to a lot of friends. Right? They picked an 8-seed team in the NBA, a possible 8-seed team in the NBA to play this tournament. No disrespect to the players on the team. They're pretty good. But you're going up against the best of the best in the world. And like I said earlier, the game has evolved so much that you cannot bring just anyone to a world tournament or a world championship and expect to just breeze by. They had the likes of Kemba Walker, Donovan Mitchell, who was incredible throughout the tournament. He was the spark that US needed to even win a couple of their games. Even in the game that they lost against France, he showed his mantle, he balled out. It's sad to see that the US dropped up so far beyond what we know them to do. They finished 7th. I think that's the worst US has ever finished in a world tournament. And this is not just about the players. It could be about the system as well. Because I've heard a lot of talk from guys saying they really don't like the way pop coaches and stuff like that. I'm talking about now Nigerian players. But there's something I always say. The system is there to guide you. That does not limit you from doing whatever you want to do. If you know you can really shoot the ball, shoot it. If it's a 3-ball, shoot it. If it's you slashing and getting to the hoop, do it. These are the things you really know how to do. But they say the system limits people. I personally don't think so. I think you, as a player, you should be able to adjust and adapt to whatever the system is and also bring out your game or show how good you are within the system. But the US did not come out the way everyone expected them to. We're all looking forward to like a Serbia-US final. Although they faced off later on, but it was none like what most people expected. Greece was also one of the flops to me. And this was basically because they put everything on Giannis. I watched a couple of the games, and if Giannis wasn't getting the ball, it was like everybody stood still and waited for the Red Sea to open and they make an easy bucket. Giannis, everything ran through Giannis. And every time he had the ball, it was stagnant. There was literally no movement. They just pass the ball to him right on top of the court, and everyone gets spaces out and let him do his thing. Hopefully he gets a bucket or he kicks out for a guy who is open to get a shot and stuff like that. Kobe said this during James Harden's crazy-ass run in the NBA when he was scoring 50, 60 back-to-back. You cannot and you will not win a tournament playing hero ball, regardless of who you are. You could be Shaq, you could be Jordan, you could be Magic, whoever you are. You cannot win a tournament playing hero ball because it is a team game. Every team coaching against another team playing hero ball has just one person to be bothered about. Do not let this guy score and we have a good chance of winning the game. Limit this guy to from 30 points to 20 and we have a good chance of winning the game. And it always ends up like that. Greece did not go past the round of 16. I didn't see them going past that round either. There were a lot of players who really stood out in this tournament, and at the end of the tournament, they give out awards to the top 5. And for this year's top 5, I think it's satisfactory to most people. Not everybody can get medals. There were a lot of players that played remarkably well. In fact, this could have been their best tournament ever in their careers. But they couldn't. Their team did not just make it so far to get to that podium with the other players. And the top 5 this year was Ricky Rubio, who was the MVP from Spain, Marc Gasol from Spain, Luis Scola, Argentina. Luis Scola, let me put this out first before we even go any further. Luis Scola is freaking 39 years old. 39. And he showed that players can be very effective even late in their careers. It was inspiring to watch him play and school these young guys like, hey, man, I've been doing this long before you guys were born, and I still have this juice in me. You cannot take this from me. This is what I do. It showed that you could be very, very good. You might not be the star player on your team. You might not be the go-to guy, but you could be very, very effective and a necessary piece for winning, even late in your careers. It probably took like 2 days to get prepped for the World Cup, and it schooled everybody. It schooled all of the the power forwards in the tournament. He came down against Nigeria and was doing everything he wanted to do. He was posting up, he was defending, having block shots, making nice reads, all this kind of stuff. It's really, really inspiring to see. The last 2 guys on the top 5 list was Evan Fournier from France and Bogdanovic from Serbia. Those guys were also incredible throughout the tournament for their teams. I put out a top 10 list on Twitter a couple of days after the tournament was over, and it got a little conversation going amongst my followers to see, is this guy really deserving? Is this guy really deserving? And a lot of them were like, yeah, the top 10 list is really good. And my top 10 was 1, Ricky Rubio, 2, Marc Gasol. Sorry, in no particular order, because a lot of people might take this wrong, but this is in no particular order. I said Ricky Rubio, Marc Gasol, Luis Scola, Ivan Fournier, Bogdanovic, Patty Mills, Sergio Yul, who was incredible. A lot of people do not know who Sergio Yul is. He's actually a veteran in the game. He plays for Real Madrid in the EuroLeague. And over time has shown that he can really play this game. He's an high IQ basketball player. He knows the in and outs of the court, can score, can make the right reads. He does everything for the team. Julian Yi for China was also incredible. He inspired the whole Chinese community throughout the tournament, even though we had to bash them, the Nigerian team. Yeah, Nigeria had to bash them to get a qualification ticket. And Facano Campazzo, the small but mighty guard from the Argentine team, he was incredible as well. Other honorable mentions are Gunnar Ray. I know people did not check out the Korean game because who gives a fuck about Korea? Who really gives a heck? Nobody wants to know about Korea. People want to know about the US, Spain, and the other teams. But if you peeped into any of the games, you'll see a 6'6" guy who was playing the center position. How crazy is that? It's outrageous. He is so undersized for that position, and he played like a beast. He played like a giant. This dude averaged 23.5 points throughout the tournament. Probably he scored the most, but he ended up having the highest point per game in the tournament. Maybe that's because his team didn't get so far, but kudos to him. He was great. He averaged 23.5 and 12.5 rebounds for a 6'6" guy playing the center position. That was something else. Another player was Chimeze Metu, our very own Chimeze Metu. I personally feel that he's going to be a great addition for Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs coming this season. He will give them a little spark, having that they do not have Kawhi anymore. They really do not have, should I say, I don't want to say a go-to player because they have the likes of DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, but they need someone there. There's always the need for a big three right now in the NBA, or a big four, or those guys that can really work together to make things work. And I feel he's going to get a lot of minutes. He's a very, very intelligent player. High IQ, knows the in and outs of the game, and he's also very athletic. We all saw the dunk he pulled on the two Chinese defenders. In fact, they were not just, let me not say defenders, they were 7-footers. That's the Yi and one other Chinese dude. I literally threw my phone when I saw that dunk. It was crazy to see. Nando De Colo was also one of the guys that really stood out to me. A friend of mine told me he's like the second highest paid in Europe. I don't know how true that is, but if it really is that he is the second highest paid, then he deserves it because he showed up for every single game for the French national team. When they needed the push, when they needed someone to get them up the ground, he was there. He was defending well. He had good length. He was getting to the buckets. He scored crucial points for them. Even when Ivan Fournier had lost touch or was out cold, when nothing was working for the French team, he stepped up and he played remarkably well. That was what really took them over all the teams they faced, getting to the semifinals and to the third place game. And I had mentioned Spider Mitchell with Donovan Mitchell. I call him Spider a lot because that's like his nickname. So Mitchell was outstanding. He showed he was very dependable, especially on the offensive end. He could get the ball in the bucket. That boy is a walking bucket. He knows how to score. He plays a whole lot like D-Wade, but a way better shooter. You get my point. He's very aggressive, can shoot from distance, score mid-range. He scores at all three levels. And it's going to be a wonderful season from him. Coming off a terrific performance in the World Cup. I believe the Utah Jazz will need him a lot now that Ricky Rubio has moved to the Suns. He will have to do a whole lot than he has done in recent years. I wish all these players the best of luck going into their various teams. This World Cup really just set the tone right for the Olympics, which I believe is going to be a blast. I do not know what to expect. I'm even going way too far. The Olympics is still next year. But have you guys really seen the teams going up in the qualifiers for the last 4 spots in the Olympics? That is going to be a war. When those games start, I'm going to be glued to my TV, to my laptop, streaming those games live. Like, all those teams right there, especially the guys from Europe, are going to fight their ass off for those spots. I'm so happy that Nigeria wasn't in that situation. Even with the close call that we had with Tunisia, we were able to seal our qualification tickets to the Olympics and the FIBA Championship in 2022. It was a great relief for me, because on seeing the teams that are going for the qualifiers, I really doubt we would have come out of that, man, because those teams are really incredible. I wish them the very best. I'm happy that Nigeria did not have to go through that. Anything that comes out of their life, good luck, you. Well, the Olympics is going to be wonderful. It's going to be a very good tournament, an eye-opener. A lot of players have to step up their games for each and every team. The star players, the role players, even the guys that are handing out water. I believe it is going to change the face of basketball for years to come. And that would be great to see the best of the best going up against each other for the world title. And that's a wrap for the very first episode of Flat Out. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Subscribe to the podcast and I'll be in your ears every week. Stay safe, stay frosty. Peace.